Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to
Katie
meet you.
McConaughey. Welcome to my office. And what brings you here today?
Well, I was referred to you by Lycoming College Women's Lacrosse and Bloomsburg Women's Lacrosse
Oh,
coaches.
that's great. That's great. And I heard you had a great season this year. You made
Yes,
it to
we
the
did. Yes, we
national
did.
championship game. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that and how great it was?
Well, we had 9 wonderful seniors, wonderful leaders. They worked really hard to inspire the team all year long. And game by game, we got to the point where we had earned ourselves a bid to the NCAAs. Then,
That's awesome.
after winning the quarterfinals, the Final Four, won in the semifinals, and made it all the way to the national championship game.
That's awesome. I was also a college lacrosse player, so I followed your season very extensively, and I was just so pumped for you guys. It was so great. I hear a lot of talk now about the shot clock.
Yes.
Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Okay, that's
I
great.
like the game moving faster.
That's great. So now that you're here and you're reaching out, why are you reaching out? Why now?
Well, I want to make sure that after losing 9 fabulous leaders, that we don't have a breakdown in communication and leadership as we move forward to a bunch of new leaders, new captains. I want to guide the team with the same expectations as we did last year.
Okay, great. And how many freshmen do you have coming in?
We have 10 freshmen coming in.
Okay, wow. So that's a lot. So a lot of turnover this season.
Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I can definitely help you with what you're saying. I'm not a psychologist. So I can't prescribe any medications. I can only refer those kind of things. I do no clinical studies. I take a social, psychological approach to my training, which basically means that, I think that one leader or a group of leaders, if they're positive, can add positivity to your team, and vice versa with the negative side. And I think that's what you're saying, that you want your leaders to spread throughout, you want them to be great, and you want them to be positive, and you don't want it to turn negative.
Correct.
Okay, so let's get started then.
Okay, sounds great.
So 9 seniors, can you tell me more about them? What was so great about them?
Well, they knew how to be fun-loving, but they also knew how to, stop the team when they were in a bad direction, reel them in, talk to them, give them positive feedback. They set high expectations for them, expected them to meet those expectations every single day. And when they were, going off track, they were not afraid to tell them, even though, it was a group of their peers. They were always hardworking, and sometimes we let them be clowns, just so that practice was fun as well as competitive. But just fantastic leaders overall, and they really deferred to each other to help as a team.
That's nice. And do you feel like they developed over their time? Do you think they came in as great leaders, or do you think it was a very building process?
I think they had natural leadership skills as they came in, but I think they watched the success and the mistakes of people before them and learned from those to become better.
Okay, that's great. And so with the freshmen coming in, obviously you want them to see what the team had done and hopefully match that. With new leaders coming in, what do you hope that they learned from the senior class before?
Well, I think our new leaders, as far as the junior class, they already understand the expectation, and I think it has been passed down from the seniors before, and it's certainly now up to those juniors, sophomores, and I think, well, the new seniors, and to pass that down to the incoming freshman class, and to raise the bar even higher. I think each year you have to set a higher expectation. So I want them to show that open communication is okay and not scary. I want them to show honesty and accountability when they make mistakes, and again, show that it's okay to be vulnerable in front of your teammates and let out some of your mistakes, and own some of the positive things that you've done on the field.
So, you talked about communication. It's tough with girls. Would you say that it's tough with 27 girls on your team?
Yes.
How does your current team, work with the communication? Do you do anything to promote positive communication, or is it kind of they're just positive people and and it is who they are?
Well, there's a few different ways that we work on communication. First of all, when we're actually in a game, we make sure the sideline stays positive. Even if we're in a bad situation on the field, maybe we're a couple goals down, we continually remind our our bench to sound positive and never let that whining sound enter the cheering. In practice, when we stop and we talk, we allow everyone to contribute something. I think offensively we could be better at accountability on when we make mistakes, but defensively we do a really good job of holding ourselves accountable for when we make those mistakes and kind of confessing that was me and exactly what we can fix. Offensively, we do a really nice job of confessing that right in the moment and knowing what we can fix. It's that accountability part of who made the mistake and what we can clean up. So I think that we have a lot of open communication skills built into our practices and our games. However, I think that we can incorporate more communication into our drills.
Okay, that's a great point. Now with communication, right, it can go one way or another. And we've said that, you've said that this team was very positive. Have you had in the past any, negative leaders that it did affect the team negatively?
Absolutely. I think, and some of those players in the past, when you try and bring them to their own reality, because if you force it on them, they're just going to think you're the problem as a coach. So that, it's kind of like holding their hand and walking them through a 4-year career and trying to develop them in a positive way and continually staying positive. So, but those that you can't affect, influence, and make change to, they can be a cancer. And we've had that happen, and it's whether or not the rest of the leaders on the team can see that person is a cancer and either ignore them. If they don't and they choose to accept that negative message, it can really influence the entire team.
Right. So with the positive leaders and the negative leaders, what route does your team take with both?
We've had the wonderful trend of everybody seeing and understanding that the positive leaders are the way to go. And now there's a culture and a climate that you don't stay with this team very long if you don't follow the positive. I think because they've witnessed some negative leaders early in their careers, and they saw how that led us and how we ended up in the season, they all feel like this is just bad news. So I think they're willing to call out the negative situations early on and bring some of those situations to light so the coaching staff can isolate it and remove it from potential damage.
Right, definitely. And it's hard to, like we said, keep each other accountable. How do you promote that, and how would you like to make it better?
I personally like to confess to the team when I make mistakes, and I think it's a very mature team when and if they can see that a coach saying I make mistakes too is a positive thing and not a weakness. So that's just one way. But just rewarding people that do recognize their own mistakes and rewarding people that want to change their behavior to fix the mistake.
That makes sense. Yes, very interesting things here. So, like you said, can you give me an example of the best communication your team has ever had?
I think one of the most amazing parts of communication on our team is in the locker room before the game. 2 phases. One where we talk about who we're going to play for that day. And everybody chooses someone that has inspired them in practice or in games leading up to the particular game that we're in the locker room preparing for. And in those situations, people are opening their hearts and saying things that are in their minds and in their hearts, and it really ignites something special inside of each one of them to want to play even harder for the person they're talking about or the person that talked about them. So I think that that's just a really kind way to inspire each other is by talking about how much they've influenced them. And the other way is the open communication about exact specifics on the field. Whether it be what we have to watch for defensively, what we have to do offensively to succeed on the field that day against that particular team. I've witnessed my leaders open up and say, we need to make sure that this, and this happens. And it's great when coaches say it, but when it comes from each other, peers really have an impact on each other. So it's not just the fact that our leaders communicate well, but it's that they're smart athletes as well, and they can recognize, what we're telling them, and then in turn communicate that effectively to their teammates.
It sounds like you have a very positive team, and with positive, and it seems like there is a lot of pressure on them sometimes. You know, does it ever become negative, and do they bounce back from it?
We've had occasion that they were under pressure and kind of imploded on each other, and I think it happened early in our season this year in one game in particular, and they got a little negative towards each other, and it broke everyone's heart to see it.
Yeah.
Coaching staff, players, and there were a lot of apologies over the next few days and long discussions and some probably self-reflection for some of those involved in the situation. But I think the fact that as a coaching staff, we really attacked the situation, nipped it in the bud and said this can't happen anymore, figure it out.
Yeah.
They grew from there. And we didn't see that negativity for the rest of the year. But the fact that we are, as a coaching staff, able to really push them and show them is impressive, because some teams would cave, melt, and fall apart from that point in the season on.
Right.
And so, because some teams wouldn't find the way to look in the mirror and hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real strength of our team. So it's not perfect, and we always have to work harder. It's just like a marriage.
Right.
Everybody's got to contribute to that positive communication.
Definitely. So you guys are a spring sport. So why don't you give me a breakdown on what your year looks like when your freshmen come in, when your team meets them, you know, to the end of it.
Freshmen come in late August. We have the team meet early on, probably only a couple days after the freshmen move in, to kind of introduce everybody, get the upperclassmen to take the freshmen under their wing. And then while we have an open door policy and they can come in and see us whenever they want to, we kind of allow the captains and the leaders and the upperclassmen to have captains practices for the first couple weeks, so that it's all about them getting to know one another without coaches there to scare people and put them in a fearful place, and just kind of enjoy the beginning of college. And then we do a lot of team workouts, which include team bonding. We do team missions, which are just silly things that as a coaching staff we give them to go out and accomplish together. Excuse me, so that they can get to know one another and just really have fun with things. And then we start with our competitive fall season, which is just tournaments that we go around and play and just kind of gauge where we're at. We do a lot of one-on-one meetings in the office to get to know how they're doing in the classroom, and to make sure that they're doing okay personally with the college adjustment and with their roommates and with their teammates. And then when they go home for Christmas break, it's about time, because they've had enough of working together with each other in a lot of conditioning and a lot of traveling in the fall. When they come back in the winter, in January from their winter break, it's game on, and we're already preparing for scrimmages in February and games starting in March.
Okay, so it's a very long season. Right now, what do you do to get the freshmen, you know, to find their voice and to have them hear the upperclassmen, and for the upperclassmen, you know, to be able to talk to them?
Do you mean over the summer or?
Over the summer and into the beginning of the competitive season in the fall.
So over the summer we have a system where they each have a partner, an upperclassman. All of the freshmen have a partner, and it's their lifting partner, but it's also their mentor, their person that they can reach out to if they're scared about something coming up. We also encourage them to come to summer camp, so that they get to know the campus a little bit better and they feel more comfortable with campus, and they get to know the counselors who are also going to be their teammates while they're at summer camp. So there's a number of ways that we encourage them to reach out and not be scared, but we also keep reminding them as a coaching staff, we're always here if you need anything. In this day and age, group text messages to the freshmen, like, is everybody okay? We're only 2 months out. Are you worried about anything? Do you want to talk about anything? And sometimes in the group message, things will come out that they're nervous about, and we're able to make light of it, sometimes joke about it, and put them at ease and tell them, we'll be here for you, everything will be okay.
That's nice. And it seems like you have a welcoming group. So it seems like your team is very effective at communicating and they have very positive self-talk, but if you would be open to it, I would like to make a few suggestions that you could do in the beginning of the year when your freshmen come in, and then again when your season starts, so that your communication is on point and everybody's on the same page with everything.
Sure, absolutely. I would love to hear that.
Oh, great. Thanks so much. Okay, so one of them would be a minefield, and you can, set up cones within 20 yards, and I can set them up and I can come if you'd be open to that. And you just put different objects around, and you have one girl, I would suggest a senior, leading a freshman and vice versa through the minefield, and they can't touch anything, and they have, they want to get through it as fast as they can. And this will promote positive talk, effective and loud communication, and I think it's a really good step the first week so that they feel comfortable with each other, they have a little fun, and you're opening the doors to communication. Another thing I would suggest would be a blindfold walk through cones and different drills and stuff, and that way, again, we're just communicating, we're trusting each other, we're starting everything early. And then lastly, I would do 2 positives, and this would be the team would sit in a circle and everybody would go around and say their 2 positive favorite things of every teammate, and this would just show that everybody has great things, and you could even add one thing that they could work on, but follow it up with a positive. That way that we're seeing positive things, maybe something that we need to fix, but ultimately it will end on a positive note. So that way everybody's talking, everybody's communicating, and they're just doing, it's all feel good, and we're setting that positive vibe for the team. Is that something you think you would be interested in?
Yes, that sounds terrific.
That's great. Okay. And do you think you would like that maybe once a year or twice a year?
Oh, I think it's good twice a year as a refresher, just to make sure everybody's really tapping into their voices.
That sounds great, because I think communication will be great amongst your team, and it seems like you already have a really good thing, and let's just make it even better. And now as a coaching staff, do you feel that you would want to participate in these, that the coaches could help the players and the players could help the coaches, and that way we're opening the door even more?
I think maybe a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't need your voice and you're so used to being a leader all the time, your leadership is always on. So sometimes it's good, and other times maybe participate but silently. Definitely. So that you show them that you're still fun and able to work with them, but that you're also willing to let them take the lead at times.
Okay. Well, I hope I get an opportunity to meet your team, and that they view me as somebody that they can come and talk to, and that we have a great relationship. But if something does arise, God forbid, an eating disorder or a gambling problem, anything alcohol or drug related, I will refer them to the proper sources, and hopefully we have something set up at this university that they have outlets here. If not, we will refer them to somebody else within the area that they feel comfortable to go to talk to. I won't cross a line and break any trust issues unless it's necessary that I come to you and I let you know this is what's going on, this is, but if it comes down to I'm having this issue on the field, how do you think I could do better? I'll put my input and ultimately refer them back to you when it comes to playing time. And then anything medical, I'll refer out, and then advise them again that they come talk to you.
Sounds good. What are some things that I could ask them to do or to practice over the summer while they're not here on campus, while they're not with me, while they're at home alone? How can I get them to start working on their communication skills early on when I don't have access to them?
I think that's a great question, and I think you can do little things like, obviously like you mentioned, the group text messages and reaching out to them that way. I would call them and say, hi, how are you doing? So they get used to talking. I also would suggest when they're running with music, they should sing. They should get used to hearing themselves and listening to their voices. I just think constant communication with each other, and then, tagging them on Twitter and saying, what are you doing today? And then having them answer back, and just getting them really active in everything that they're doing. And I think that will start the communication early, and then by the time you get here on campus, they'll be ready to talk.
So sing in the shower, tweet at them and say, wherever you are right now, I want you to yell out loud, I want to win.
And have them send you a video of it.
That's
that way
very funny stuff.
Yeah, that they're having fun, they're seeing that we're engaged, and then they're ready to come in and talk.
Okay.
Coach, I just want to say thank you so much, and hopefully I get to meet you and the team this fall.
Well, it was such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for all of your help. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you. We're good?
We're good.
That was